Welcome to Earthtide Studios. I'm Zach Knight, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at how to program drums with MIDI. This is going to be a pretty exciting video for me, as I'm actually really happy to share that I've just released my first Kontakt drum library, the ChronoKit. We're going to be using it in this video and exploring what it's got, but most importantly, this video should be a really good way for you to be able to get your head around the basics of programming drums. If you want to grab a copy of the ChronoKit and take advantage of the discount we've got going now, just click the link below. But for now, let's get into Cubase and start making some drums.
Now, programming drums is quite a complex thing, and I certainly won't be able to cover every single aspect of it in this one video. We're just going to have a look at the basics of programming drums and how you can get yourself set up to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create an instrument, and I'm going to select Kontakt 5, and I'm going to choose my output to go through to the stereo out here, and it's going to make an instance of Kontakt 5, and I'm going to load up the ChronoKit here. We can see here that we've got the ChronoKit open up here, and from there I'm basically just going to ignore that for now, and we're actually just going to start writing MIDI straight into what we've got right here in this session. Now, I have a whole bunch of pre-prepared stuff, which I'll show you in a second, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to solo this track. To write that MIDI in, by the way, in Cubase, I was just holding an Alt to grab this little pencil here, and we're going to load up the MIDI track here. Now, if you double click on it, it'll come down the bottom here. You can also click this button here and it'll take up the whole screen, but I don't want that for now. Now, in the ChronoKit here, you start off with C1 for the kick, and then we go up to D#2 here for the snare rim, and I'm just going to use that as the main thing. So we're going to set our quantize here to 16th notes, and that basically means when you click and create something here, it'll create it within the scope of this grid, which is in 16th notes here. So I'm just going to create a kick here, and I'm going to create another one here, and I'm going to create a snare here. And as you can see, I'm basically in a musical way creating a drum beat along with what I know is a standardized style punk beat. So I'm just going to solo this, and we'll have a quick listen to it now. So that is like this really, really basic start of a drum beat here. Let's make it a little bit more musical, and we'll add a few more kick spaces here, and we'll also do the rest of this. We'll make it a 2-bar thing here. Let's do a little snare fill here. So should be, oh, that needs to be there. And now I'm going to copy this section here, duplicate this over here. This is all setting to snap to the grid, by the way. So for instance, if I took that off, I could paste it and it would be off the grid here, but we don't want that in this particular situation. So I'll just put that back on. And we'll copy this section here as well. And we'll do a drum roll at the end. So we've got, let's get rid of those two. Actually, it's too much. Let's do a silly drum roll that's probably unnecessary. That's tom 1, tom 2, actually, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. So let's find tom 1. Let's go with this, actually. We'll go a double kick here, and we're going to bring this whole drum fill over here. So we've got dun 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 dun. go with big hit here. So we've got floor tom, middle tom, and kick here. And this will be silly. Actually, let's put this here instead. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. We'll make it a snare one instead. And now we're missing the most important thing, which is some cymbals. So we've got hi-hat there. Open hi-hat's pretty good. So we'll do that. We'll duplicate that and bring that along here. And we'll add a cymbal. So we've got a left crash there. I like that one there. We'll go with that one. Over here at the start of the second bar, we'll do... Start off with the double crash here, actually. So this one is the double crash. And then we'll change this one to... that crash over there. Copy these hi-hats here, duplicate them across. Get rid of that. And then we'll start our drum beat here. And we'll loop it so that we can hear it coming through again. I've just done, to grab this loop section here, you just bring the mouse until you get to the pencil there and drag it to the area that you want, and then press the / button on the numpad to be able to select looping, or you can just press it here, and we'll have a listen to this drum beat. So as you can see, that's like really simple way to be able to program a drum beat. Just straight in, you know, there's obviously not a lot of dynamics going on in there, and I'm going to move on to the next section now where I look at how you can add a lot more dynamics into program drums. So now that we've gone through a really basic part on how to program drums, we're going to have a look at a little bit more detail. So this is actually a production that I have done, and I've created MIDI drums of the real drums that we recorded. Let's just have a quick listen to what it sounds like with the current programmed MIDI drums using ChronoKit. So it's already sounding pretty damn good. This is obviously just with the programmed drums, and there's a little bit of reverb going on. There's no mixing happening. This is just straight out of the kit. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the MIDI here, and I'll make it a little bit larger so we can see what's going on. And you can see that everything looks quite a bit different than it did in the previous video. And the reason that that is the case is because I have gone through and I have adjusted velocity and timing for these parts. So we're just going to have a listen to the drum beat just on its own. I'm just going to break down quickly what I've done here, and then it'll be a really easy way for you to be able to come back to this video and use it as a guide on how you can humanize and make your drum parts a lot better. These bottom parts here are all the kicks. These are the snares. These are hi-hats. Up here, we've got your cymbals. These are also hi-hats here. Over here, we have more snares. So these three different ones are snares here, and then these are toms here. You'll notice there's a couple of different things going on here. The different colors indicate different velocities, And you'll also notice that most of these drums are not on the grid. And the reason that that is the case is that when a real drum performance has been made, the things that make the drums sound special is the human aspects of it. So when a drummer plays, especially in a production like this, often the kick will be sitting just a little bit behind the beat. So it'll be sitting a little bit to the right of the grid, and the snare will often be played a little bit ahead of the beat. Sometimes the snare sits behind the beat, but generally speaking, it'll be sitting pretty close to or just a little bit above the beat. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to change the feel of the song dramatically. So the kick and snare really change the way that the song feels. So if you've got your kick sitting behind the beat, if it's like here, it's just going to sound in time, but a little bit sort of back and a little bit groovier. Obviously, if you've got the kick and you push it all the way like back here, it's probably going to sound out of time, and somewhere over here is going to sound a little bit more sort of in that sort of funky hip-hoppy kind of range where you've got stuff sitting really like behind the beat. Adjusting things like that is going to really change the groove and the feel of the song. However, the first thing that I recommend that you do after you've mapped out your drum beat, go through and adjust all of the velocities for every single hit to make things sound more realistic. So I'm just going to show you a really quick example of where that hasn't been done. So this is the same drum MIDI, and in this particular drum MIDI here, all of these beats, all of these shells, that is, so the kicks, the snares, and the toms, they're all sitting 100% on the grid, and they're all sitting at the same velocity, which is 100. Now, I have turned all of the cymbals down just because the cymbals are quite loud, but they're all sitting at the same velocity as well. Let's have a listen, and you're going to hear how mechanical this sounds versus the other drum MIDI. As much as that's a really cool drum beat, and it's definitely, something that, there's quite a lot of complexity involved there in the actual, songwriting aspect of that drum beat, it sounds quite mechanical in the performance. And the reason is because it literally is mechanical. It's gridded, the velocities are sitting quite flat, there's no movement, and things just don't sound very special. It sounds robotic. Whereas we look at this one, and you can see that everything looks quite different, and we'll have a listen to the stark difference between that previous quantized drum beat versus this one. Sounds much, much better. So I'm just going to quickly show you how you can actually adjust what you need to adjust for all of these different things inside Cubase. So we'll go over to this one here, and we'll just make a few quick adjustments to this heavily quantized drum beat to make it sound a little bit nicer. So we're going to start off with the kicks here. And what you want to do is you want to go through and select every single kick that you want to adjust. And if you've got multiple different things playing on the same grid line, when you select it, it'll play everything on there, but you're actually only going to be editing what's highlighted. And what we can do is you can either A, just scale them vertically down there to bring them all down a little bit, or you can actually tilt them here. So what it'll do is it'll bring these ones down here versus these ones, which will stay at the position they were at before, and it'll come down like that. And you can sort of do this if you want to do like little bits at a time. So say, for instance, you want to just bring these two down here, and then you can bring these two down here a little bit differently. Then you can adjust this one and bring those two down there. And that's going to kind of work okay. But a much easier way to ensure that you're having a randomized difference between everything is to literally select the beat that you want to change, and up here you actually have the velocity, and you can literally just use your mouse wheel and roll it down. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. And so on. And so on. So now all of those kicks are random different velocities to each other. I've still kept them relatively close to 100 because I want the kicks to be actually quite powerful. Obviously, if you didn't want them to be super powerful, you wouldn't be putting them there. And then up here, we've got our snares. Now, all of these snares are sitting flat at the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust all of them again as well. I want these snares quite loud, so we're actually going to be going with them all between 100. Actually, let's go between, we'll go between 100 to 110 for them. However, here, you'll notice that there's all of this hat action happening here. The power out of this snare here would not be nearly as powerful as this one here. So we're actually going to bring that, leave that sitting one at 100 and have that one quite a little bit more at 106. And now we've got all these different hi-hats happening here. And this is where things start to get a little bit special. So all of these hi-hats would be way less. Because, you think about it, you've got someone who's playing kicks and snare here, and they're double time hitting the hats as they go across as well. Which is quite a hard thing to do, obviously. So you're going to want to adjust all of that here. So what we'll do is I'm actually going to hold in Control and go down here and actually make some adjustment to all the velocities. And just that one there, bring that down as well. And over here, we have hat, open hat, pedal hi-hat. So what's happening here is you can have a quick listen. So you've got someone who's hitting the open hi-hat, then hitting a closed hi-hat, opening it, hitting it open, then pedaling to close the hi-hat so they can get that psst, psst kind of sound. You actually have to program in the adjustments there. So, you've got closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, pedal hi-hat to close the hi-hat, then closed hi-hat. Because if you change these to just closed hi-hats, it would sound a little bit weird. Versus, it's very subtle, but the difference is the kind of difference between something that sounds like a realistic drum kit versus something that sounds obviously fake. So what I've done here is I've gone through and I've actually had the open hi-hats a little bit louder than the closed hi-hats, and then the pedal hi-hats are a little bit louder only because it's quite a soft sample. And then the closed hi-hats a little bit softer again versus the open hi-hats, but it sort of steadily gets louder as it goes across there. So now we'll have a listen to that. And there's no timing adjustments going on. We've just adjusted velocity now. And you'll notice that straight away, these hi-hats are all just a little bit too quiet. So we're going to bring them up a little bit. And I'm also noticing on the hi-hats that are happening when the snares are happening, they're a bit too quiet because the way that a drummer usually plays, they would play the hi-hat just a touch harder as they're hitting the snare. It's sort of a bit of a involuntary thing that happens as part of playback, and it's also a thing that the ear kind of wants to hear. So I've actually just brought those up just a little bit. Let's listen again. And you'll also notice here that this is just a touch too loud versus the other ones here, this small bar here. Much better now. Now, this is the tom it's starting on here, the floor tom there. That one's sitting at 100. Let's bring that down a little bit. So now we've got the velocity sitting pretty decent. You could go further detailed into it, very, very finicky, but this is a lot more realistic. Now what we want to do is we want to adjust some timing. So the first thing that you want is you want to go through and adjust all the kicks. And the easiest way to do it is you can either hold control and just drag them along to bring them just off the grid where you want them to, or you can actually use up here where the start is on the info line and actually adjust by moving the mouse wheel to adjust the sample here. I like to do it by hand just because it makes it a bit quicker. So what we'll do is we're going to make this sit just behind the grid, and we're actually going to make it sound a little bit flammy. So what I'm going to do is we'll take this kick, bring that back a little bit, and we'll take this and bring that back a little bit as well. Actually, you know what? Let's have them both sit together, just a little bit behind the grid. Now, I want this whole song to sound pretty groovy, so I want most of these kicks to sit just behind the beat. And if you wanted to, say, for instance, be a little bit quicker with this, you could also say, like, grab, you know, this one and this one and this one, and then drag them over, and then this one and this one and this one, and drag them over. But I'm going to just do them all by hand quickly. For fun, I'm going to push that kick just a little bit ahead of the beat, just to make things sound a little bit more special. That's too far. And now we're going to find the snares, and I'm going to push this one just a little bit ahead of the beat. A little bit ahead of the beat as well. Bit ahead of the beat. A bit ahead. This one I'm going to sit just a little bit behind. Actually, I'll put that one just a little bit behind. This one too. And this one too. Okay, so now we've gone through and adjusted that. You can go through and adjust all of the cymbals as well. In this video, I'm not going to, just because it's going to end up making it way too long. But I would definitely go through and manually adjust all of them as well. And up here, we have a crash cymbal. And I'm just going to check where that's sitting. So that's sitting at sample 2. Let's actually snap that back to the grid and bring these two together. Just because I want them timing to be good. And I'm going to bring the cymbal down to like 80 for that one, because cymbals are quite loud. All right, let's have a listen. Sounds way better. It's much more realistic. There's a bit more groove going on there, and the velocity adjustments really help. That's really just the basics of how to program drums with the ChronoKit. I am going to do some other videos explaining a lot more detail on this as I go, and I'll also do some videos showing how to mix using program drums as well. But this is really just a super straightforward, simple video showing you how to program drums with the ChronoKit.
As you can see, there's quite a lot of detail that can go into building your drums with MIDI, and I've just sort of scratched the surface here on the basics and the fundamentals for you to use in your tools. If you'd like me to make more videos regarding drum programming and go into finer detail, hit me up in the comments below. Don't forget that the ChronoKit is available now if you'd like a copy, and we also have a free vocal production course that will teach you the basics of recording, editing, and mixing your vocals. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more of these tutorials, but for now, take it easy.